the end of the show. We move on to Wednesday, the Coral Cup, and because he's so full of enthusiasm, I'm going to come straight back to Steve just to make it more infectious.
So I didn't expect to come back so soon because I muted myself. Coral Cup, I like HMS Seahorse, who ran at the festival last year and was fourth in what turned out to be a very hot race for the Boodles juvenile novice hurdle. Now he went on from there and won on the flat. He also was placed behind Vauban, albeit a long way behind at Punchestown. And last time, I thought he improved quite a lot going up in distance, 2.5 miles at Navan, and I think that's been the making of him. He's got a really good pedigree, but he clearly stays very well. If you go back to that Boodles, I know he's gone up in the handicap behind Brazil and Gaelic Warrior. Brazil and Gaelic Warrior both graded winners of some order, like Gaelic Warriors, obviously one of the best novices going into this Cheltenham Festival. So if he's in that sort of form and he has improved HMS Seahorse, then I think he's got a good chance in what is always a crazily open race.
Yeah, HMS Seahorse for you, Dan, overall.
Yeah, this is a nightmare of a race. I think 4 of the past 5 winners have been 20-1 plus or 21.0 plus come the day. So very tough at this stage. But the one I like the most at the current stage is San Salvador, who we haven't seen since New Year's Eve, but he bolted up at Punchestown when we last saw him under what I'd describe as a very un-Irish ride, because JJ Slevin kicked on him a long way from home. Like he took up the running about half a mile out, kicked clear and had the others all at it. And it was only Captain Combi who has got some solid form over 3 miles and is normally a very consistent type. He is the only one who could really go with them. The rest were 10 lengths back, and it was actually a decent race for the grade as well. And for many people, I think, said that he stole that race, but the time of the race was actually half a second quicker than St. Sam was earlier on the card, and St. Sam's a mid-150 horse. So I don't necessarily buy that. He's effectively gone up 14 pounds now to a mark of 138 when you take into consideration the British handicapper, but that was just his 6 start over hurdles. And you go back to last season, he showed a lot of promise, and Connections always kind of described him as being quite weak. His jumping wasn't great, but he seemed to really put it all together at Punchestown. I think he's clearly still on an upward curve. A mark of 138, I don't think is beyond him. He's a 7-year-old that's lightly raced. I think he ticks a lot of boxes. And just one at a massive price that, if the ground is soft, will become a lot of interest is a horse called An Epic Song for Martin Brazel and the Morayans, who had fast or slow finish second in this race last year at a big price. He won the same Punchestown race, actually, at San Salvador a year earlier on heavy ground. That's basically his only start over an intermediate trip. Since then, he's been back over 2 miles on quick ground, including in the Liffey, pretty much taking the exact same route as fast or slow. If he gets soft ground and steps back up to this 2.5 mile trip, I think he'll be a massive price, and I actually think he'll outrun his odds.
DC?
The one I went for is Beacon Edge. I put this up last week. He was a bigger price, but he's after being trimmed in a small, but now since he's been confirmed for this. He placed in I think it was a stairs hurdle there 2 years ago. They sent him chasing last season. Bit of alright form, but nothing to set the world alight. They ran him at Dunroy at the start of the season behind Invial, and he hated it. They put him back over hurdles now since January. He finished third in the Boyne hurdle there behind Blazing Cal a few weeks ago. This is his only entry. Again, he's a bit of course form. He'd handle any ground. Probably won't want it too good, but I mean, if as long as it's kind of soft, he should be fine. He's a nice win place bet in a really tough handicap.
All right, I'm just going to stick up a couple. Does anybody know what Historic Records' preference is? Not that you're going to. She's in this and she's in the pipe. Anybody have any idea? Because I want to back her for, I mean, whichever one she lines up in. I just think she's quite a big price for both of them. And I think she'd have won last time without the hampering on the inner. She also got hampered early on in the race. She won on debut for the yard at Tremor. That was on good grounds. That's a slight concern. But she's the sort of worst handicapped of all the Irish, as in she's got the biggest rise. And that was in all the papers. It was a big headline. But whether she got 11 or 9, I don't think it's when she did. Got 11. I think it makes a big difference. I think we have no idea how good she is, and I think she could be a lot better than 131. O'Fleuron is, I thought, of particular interest. Just a big price, having come out of that race we mentioned last time. The first and the second line up here. Fences didn't work out. He was only 10 lengths behind Banbridge last year. Lines up off £2 lower. He's about 26.0. I want to take a big price. I thought O'Fleuron was a really big price and was campaigned quite nicely. I thought to now be lining up at the festival £2 lower, having run a pretty good race last year. Maybe he wants 3 miles, but I'll chance him here. And then Matt, you can give us your stat, and then I absolutely love your selection. Just trolling our producers, filth.
The stat is that 6 Cesarovic winners have run that season at the festival this century. Detroit City got closest to the winner, and he was beating 19 lengths in 6th as a 2.5 favourite for the champion hurdle. It's a negative for the Coral Cup favourite Run for Oscar. And the reason for highlighting this trend is to flag the wider point about peaking horses for the festival. Races like the Coral Cup, so competitive, horses need to be at pitch point for this. And to peak a horse to win a race like the Cesarovic in early October after a flat campaign, Run for Oscar ran in May, June and August, and then win at the festival, really hard for a trainer. Charles Burns an excellent target trainer, but I'm keen to oppose Run for Oscar. And Langerdan, apparently this has always been the plan to come here. He unfinished business, I think, in Dan Skelton's mind. 2 years ago, he was beaten just over 2 lengths by Galopin de Champs, 9 lengths clear of the third. Then he'd only had 6 days to recover from the Imperial Cup. I think the rider was possibly a bit overconfident as well, so I marked that up. And last year, he was coming in off 137, got taken out early and then won at Aintree. And this season, Dan has been touting him up as a stayers hurdle horse, which immediately got my ears twitching in terms of a handicap plot. 3 inauspicious runs. He's down from 145 to 141. I think he's a really well handicapped horse, and we know he runs well at the festival.
Dan has